Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. It is I, Sierra Daredevil, back with another episode in our TNA series in TEW IX. This one is not being recorded via Twitch stream because I needed to get this out and I haven't really been able to do a Twitch stream recently due to some stuff going on, so wanted to get this out of there and go from there. So tonight it is another episode of Impact, continuing on in the two BFGSs, which unfortunately I'm realizing if I want to get it scheduled right for this, whoever is going to end up taking up a lot of time over the next few episodes, so I'm going to try my best to try to still have other storylines be touched on and other people who aren't in the BFGS get featured, but it's going to be taking up a lot of time because there are quite a few matches that still need to be run in this series before the finals that would be happening at No Surrender, which would be which would then be setting up the winners of the BFGSs versus the champions of their divisions. But nevertheless, we have other things we're going to be covering tonight, including a big time match in our main event that does not feature, that is not part of either BFGS, which we will be showing off with our opening segment in front of 8,555 people at the Celebration Arena in Alabama. We see the Motor City Machine Guns, our tag team champions, entering the building here tonight, to start off Impact. And they look annoyed because somebody's showing off camera. Camera kind of pans around and shows none other than Sierra Daredevil standing there with kind of a smile on his face. Shelley asks if Daredevil's smiling because he's happy to see the greatest tag team in wrestling today standing in front of him. And I say, well, yeah, I am glad to see you here tonight, actually. Because you guys have a match tonight. You guys are actually, not only do you have a match, you're in the main event. So I guess, greatest tag team, you're going to be in the main event. You're going to get featured. And Saban goes, okay, well, which team are we beating here tonight? We gotta beat the Von Erichs. We're gonna beat the Super Smash Bros. We're gonna beat are we gonna face, who are we facing? Who are we facing? And I'm like, well, you guys are supposedly beating, since you're claiming you're gonna beat them, you're supposedly beating the American Wolves. And Shelley starts to object before I stop him and be like, and yes, it is going to be the match that they've earned for the TNA World Tag Team Championships. And Guns immediately start to object, but I walk off with a smile on my face as commentators talk about that happening tonight in the main event. So there you go. Our main event tonight, it is going to be the World Tag Team title matchup that the Wolves earned a couple weeks ago on pay-per-view. It is going to be the American Wolves challenging the Motor City Machine Guns for the TNA World Tag Team Championships. Why is it happening on Impact? You will see. 55 rating, though. Not too bad. Hoping for a little bit better, but I think we are still a bit underwhelming when it comes to cutting promos. And I don't think Saban and Shelley aren't the greatest at cutting promos either, but it's fine. It's fine. Then we have it up with a match in the Bound for Glory series that sees Jay Lethal in non-title action defeat Adam Cole in 11-10 by pinfall with a lethal combination. Of course, these two earlier in the year had a match for the X Division Championship that Lethal was able to win. So kind of playing off the idea that they have a little bit of history with each other. And here you go. We had this now, and Lethal and Cole had their match over and Lethal got the victory. So able to successfully get 3 more points in the Bound for Glory series, and on top of that, able to get himself. Sorry, I'm kind of spacing on some stuff right now. Able to get himself, past another matchup to where he wouldn't have to defend the championship. So right now, the only person he officially owes an X Division Championship match to is D'Angelo Dinero still. So there you go. I mean, Lethal, maybe, other than the match they lost to Dinero, maybe Lethal needed this as a motivator to possibly win this whole thing. We'll have to see. 74 rated matchup. Really good to see there. Then after that, we have Christy Hemme standing by backstage with Mickie James. She asked Mickie about her match at Destination X. Of course, Mickie was the surprise challenger for Velvet Sky in the Knockouts Championship, which Velvet cowardly avoided losing her championship, or at least supposedly cowardly. She avoided losing it, not by normal means, that is. Mickie says that for everything Velvet had to say last week, she saw one thing to be true. That Velvet truly is scared of Mickie James. After all, why else would she have had their title match end the way it did? Seems to her that Velvet appears to be a coward, but she can respect it. Mickie James is one of the greatest female wrestlers of all time, something Velvet only wishes she could be. But trust her when she says this, there will be a rematch, and Mickie James once again be the TNA Knockouts champion. So it's kind of a little bit of an awkward story here because both of them are still heels, and both of them are still not Mickie is still proclaiming that her and Mickie and Magnus are still kind of going around proclaiming that they're the greatest power couple in the business and all that, and how they're royalty and all that. And Velvet's going around being the Knockouts champion, even if she's had to take some not so some cowardly ways to make it happen. So it's kind of a weird little dynamic with this, however, but I think it'll work pretty well. After that, we go back to the ring. 56 rated matchup as cheerleader Melissa picks up 3 more points, defeating Hikaru Shida in 11:22 by pinfall in a raid crash. So there you go. Shida having a little bit of trouble in this Bound for Glory series this year, but it happens. It happens. But Melissa gets the victory, gets herself 3 more points, keeps herself right there in the thick of things when it comes to possibly winning the whole thing. Of course, if I remember right, her and April Mendez, who is also in action here in a bit, are the only 2 undefeated members of the Knockouts BFGS. So, eventually those 2 are going to end up clashing in this thing. We'll have to see what ends up happening. But Melissa gets a victory here over Shida. And we move on from there. Move on to a 74 rated segment backstage that AJ Styles was poor when trying to improvise dialogue, which is kind of weird, but all right. We're backstage. Magnus and Smojo are talking to each other when in walks AJ Styles. Of course, we really haven't seen him too much since a few weeks ago when he lost the world title matchup against Shelton Benjamin. And by a few weeks ago, I mean Slammiversary. We've kind of seen him here and there, but haven't really seen him much over. It's kind of some tension there between him and the other 2 men. Kind of a brief stare down between him and Magnus, because of course him and Magnus do have history. Styles says that he doesn't like Magnus. He doesn't consider him an ally. He's not on his side. Unlike Joe here, he actually remembers the whiny bullshit that Magnus put TNA through. But tonight he's apparently teaming up with the 2 against the BDC. So for tonight, he will deal with the 2 of them. But he's going to be the TNA World Heavyweight Champion again on his own, even if it means having to go through them to make it happen. So tonight we do have, in 6-man tag action, AJ Styles, Magnus, and Smojo teaming up against Eddie Kingston, Homicide, and MVP. Yeah, kind of interesting there. So, Magnus is, I don't know if it's actually been declared that he is, but he's basically the #1 contender for the TNA World title now, after getting the pinfall at Destination X. But AJ Styles is making it clear that he doesn't trust Magnus. I mean, and who's to blame him? I mean, Magnus might be at least pretending to be turning over a little bit of a new leaf here, but at the same time, is he really going after the BDC because he wants to stop them from trying to, damage TNA, or is he going after them simply just because he wants the TNA World title? He might be trying to act like he's, doing it for the right reasons, but is it more just that he's doing it for selfish reasons and he just wants the championship? Who knows? But this got a 74. They're going to be having that 6-man tag later tonight. Go back to the ring. And in a 65 rated matchup, D'Angelo Dinero actually picks up the victory over Abyss in 10:28 by pinfall of the DDE to pick up 3 points in the Bound for Glory series. Dinero seemed off his game, which is still a little disappointing. 72 from Abyss, 66 from Dinero. This also did not continue to the storyline because Abyss is still in that storyline with Colt and Jimmy Jacobs, which I probably need to take him out of it now. I need to take Abyss out of it now because he's not. I mean, he still kind of is, but he's not like. I don't know. Regardless, it's still got a 65, which I'm not complaining about. But yeah, De Niro was able to actually beat Abyss, so kind of a interesting there. Not that like the Abyss was doing fantastic in the Bound for Glory series so far, but you know, for De Niro to be able to put him down is pretty impressive. So De Niro, you know, trying to make a showing. He's trying to make a showing in this series, but we'll have to see if it's going to be enough for him to actually get that opportunity. Because obviously it'd be really weird if De Niro somehow ends up winning this whole men's Bound for Glory series thing, and then his stablemate is still, you know, Shelton Benjamin is still the world champion at that point. Like that'd be kind of a weird, weird setup there. It might lead to a bit of tension with within the BDC at Bound for Glory if they fight for the title. But we'll have to see what happens. Then we go backstage and we find out that there's a brawl happening. There's a fight happening because Austin Aries and Robert Roode have found each other backstage and they are fighting with each other. Security are trying to break the brawl up, but both men are tossing security members aside to try to get their hands on each other. Eventually, there's enough security staff that show up to keep them separated completely. 69 rating, nice rating. Just kind of advancing that storyline. You know, they've been having verbal shots at each other back and forth for weeks now. They've sat there and showed up during matches that the others had, and apparently they ended up into a brawl this week. So we'll have to see where things head forward with that. So eventually they're going to end up having to have a match. We'll have to see what ends up happening. Go back to the ring, and April Mendez remaining undefeated with a misspelled finisher name, as she defeats Mio Shirai in 11:45 by pinfall with a sliced bread number 2. 64 rated matchup. Good stuff there. Picking up 3 points for herself, keeping herself undefeated in the series and in TNA as a whole right now. As she defeats Mio Shirai. 63 for Mendez, 49 from Mio. Good stuff here. One of our better knockouts matches of all time, so it's good to see. You know, eventually we're like I was saying with Triller and Melissa earlier, it seems like we're on a collision course with those two. Like they're gonna have their match in the regular portion of the BFGS, but it feels like we're gonna end up, you know, there's a good chance that those two are gonna at least be in the semifinals of the series as well. So there's a good chance that they may end up, you know, possibly fighting to determine the overall winner as well. We'll have to see. But 64, good stuff there for these two. Then we have our 6-man tag match that gets a 75 rating. Good stuff there, as it is just a crazy-ass wild brawl. The bell rings. After all 6 men come out, the bell rings, and immediately they just start fighting with each other. There's no tags happening. There's no, nothing is really, there's no tags, but nothing's really happening. The match just completely breaks down. Eventually the referee just throws the whole thing out. It was one of those things where like they'd fight for a little while on the outside. The count out would get broken up, and then they would end up fighting with each other again, and they end up going to the outside and there'd be fighting, and it was one of those things where the referee just really couldn't handle control over, and after about 8:46 or so, eventually the referee just threw the whole thing out because they wouldn't get back in the ring at that point. So I thought it was a good way to kind of continue the story where, you know, the BDC kind of Kingston, Homicide, and MVP were able to, I don't want to say stop Magnus, Joe, and Styles, but they were able to keep them getting a victory here tonight. But it's more just, you know, them brawling with the BDC, and the brawl just kind of ends up all over the place, and, you know, referee calls for the bell, security come out to try to break everything up, all that kind of stuff. So we'll have to see where things go with that heading forward. We go backstage. Chris Reyna is looking very stale. I don't remember if I knew that or not, but I will have to fix that, or I'll have to see if I can fix that. We have Chris Hemme standing backstage with Bad Influence, who are sipping martinis and apparently in a great mood. Hemme asks them what the occasion is, and Daniel says it should be obvious. They've proven that Kurt Angle and his son or buddy or whoever the hell he is are nobodies. They beat him on pay-per-view, and they're loving that people are seeing the truth now. Kaz says that now they're done with those losers, they're going to focus on tonight's World Tag Title match. because after all, they could use a little bit of gold to go along with their celebration. So while Angle and Betts are trying to recover from that loss at Destination X, it looks like Daniels and Kazarian are just loving life and focusing on, looking past Angle and Betts now, looking to try to get tag team gold. 64 rating, hope for a little bit better, but it's fine. So there is that. We got a 74 rated match here tonight, which, because of Colt Cabana being involved in the storyline with Jimmy Jacobs, did not have a storyline attachments for it, so it brought the segment rating down a little bit, but that's fine. This isn't the main anyway, so I'm okay with that. Also take a 74 between these two, as Roderick Strong defeats Colt Cabana in 12-17 by submission with a stronghold to pick up 3 more points in the Bound for Glory series. He is just on a roll in this thing. There is a very good chance that we're going to see Roddy possibly winning this whole thing. At this point, he's basically for sure going to end up in the semifinals in the little semifinal portion of it to try to determine the overall winner. So it seems like it's going to be pretty obvious, but we'll have to see what ends up happening. So Roderick gets the victory here, get himself 3 more points, and continuing to have a lot of success in the Bound for Glory series. We'll have to see where the Messiah of the Backbreaker goes from here. Is he able to kind of pull a Samoa Joe from last year and dominate the whole thing? Go on and win the title or not? We'll have to see. We will have to see. And then, in our main event, only a 71 because it has lack of psychology. I probably need to remember that. Need to make, if I would, need to make sure that this match, a match between these two teams again is probably a little bit shorter because of the lack of psychology, but it's fine. I'll still take a 71. As Great Wrestling Good Heat, the American Wolves defeat the Motor City Machine Guns at 13:01 when Alex Shelley intentionally got counted out while fighting Davey Richards. The tag titles were on the line, but of course the tag titles do not change hands via countout. So the Guns were cowardly enough to hold their championships successfully, thanks to intentionally getting counted out of the match. And the crowd boos at this result, as the Guns retained their titles via a cheap method. However, payback came for them as they're celebrating, acting like it was the toughest battle ever, holding the titles up high, while the commentators kind of talking about this happening, as Shelley and Sabre are kind of backing up the ramp. They're doing that thing where their backs are to they're facing the ring, but backing up the ramp kind of thing, so they don't know what's happening behind them. The crowd pops as the Briscoes come out from the back. The Briscoes grab both of them and, or not grab them. They kind of strike them from behind, causing Sabin and Shelley to go tumbling back down to the ring area. And they throw him back in the ring. And the Wolves end up laying out the Guns. And then they end Impact holding the TNA World Tag Team Championships. 2 cheers from the crowd. 63 rating. So it looks like maybe things aren't done here. We'll have to see how Daredevil responds to, this tag title match ending the way it did. And go from there. Show got a 71. Okay. That's not fun. Lost its popularity in 17 regions. Gained us 2. Yeah, the 6-man tag probably should have been the main. I got worried about putting that in the main because I was like, I set that up as a wild brawl, and I didn't know if the people involved were going to be like Homicide and Kingston are great at brawling. So is Joe, but Magnus doesn't have the best rating brawl wise. Same with Styles and same with MVP. So I was like, I don't know how well that's going to end up going, but it turns out that probably should have been the main. But in theory, you would probably, even though that match is based around the world title, you'd probably, in theory, still have a actual title match in the main over that anyway, so it's fine. And at the same time, I didn't want to put Roderick in the main event 2 weeks in a row in the Bound for Glory series thing, but it also could have been a better match in the main, but it's fine. It's fine. That's fine. Still made $353,000 on the night. And we didn't lose a popularity point at all. We went down a little bit in popularity in a lot of regions, but we didn't lose it completely, so that's good. Central Europe, we gained a full point. Or we went up to the next point, that is, so that's good to see. So, yeah. Yeah, it could have been slightly better, but it's fine. We'll get there. We are, we're kind of in a little bit of a spot right now where it's one of those things where it's like, we're going to do what we need to do and go from there as part of, as TNA. Maybe we'll, take a hit here and there, but I'm not too worried about it. I am not too worried about it. Holy. All right. Well, something happened here. How does that even work? Oh, I see. Okay. I see. I'll point it out here in a second. So, all right. Let's run through a few things really quick. We've got Nia Jax apparently bonding with Sasha Banks, which is interesting. Nikki Roxx is winning online plaudits. Good for her. I've thought about bringing her in. I mean, she's just a manager at this point, but I've thought about bringing her in just because, she's she was Roxy Laveau in TNA. Be kind of fun to bring her in just for the heck of it. But apparently, this is why I kind of had a thing there. R.D. Evans and Portia Perez have recently split up because R.D. Evans was caught cheating with Heidi Lovelace, and now the two are an item. So R.D. Evans was with Portia Perez and cheated on her with Heidi Lovelace. That's why I said, it was a thing for me, because it's like Portia Perez is employed by us, so that's why that popped up on there, and that's why I made that that remark there. So poor Portia. Yeah, there's that. Ratings for the night, 3.8. See, we don't have to worry. Yeah, we lost a little bit of popularity, but we still had 3.8 million people watching Impact. I'll take it. I'll take it. NXT with a 58 rating. Saw Team Crime defeat Finn Balor and Patrick Clark to retain the tag team titles. Team Crime, of course, being Baron Corbin and Aiden English. Okay. Why not? FIP ran a show, saw D'Lo Brown defeat Phil Shatter in the main event. Sure. Ring of Honor, Scott Steiner and Bully Ray defeated Delirious and Colin Delaney in the main event. Sure. But yeah, none of them are holding a candle to us at this point. Let's look at Explosion really quick, because there was more Bound for Glory series stuff that happened on it. So we opened up with Red Dragon defeating War Machine. Just, kind of getting more Red Dragon still some momentum a little bit. Io Shirai defeated Angelina Love in the BFGS to get herself 3 more points. EC3 defeated Zema Ion. Zema Ion still remaining winless in this whole thing. EC3 getting 3 points. Serena Deeb defeated Kairi Hojo to get 3 points. Another surprise, as Rosemary defeated Kana to get 3 points. So, I mean, not that Rosemary defeating Kana is necessarily an upset, but it's still, Kana was undefeated for a long time, and then she hit the BFGS, and now she's like losing matches, losing a lot of her matches. Whereas Rosemary, is still trying to kind of prove that she's still kind of in this. And then the main event of Explosion saw Punishment Martinez pick up 3 points, picking up a victory over Chris Hero. So good stuff there. That leaves us right here with our Knockouts Bound for Glory series. As you see, 2 people have hit the 12-point mark. Chito Melissa and April Mendez both. 4 matches, 4 victories, 12 points apiece in this whole thing. So there is that. Coming up behind them is Io Shirai and Rosemary, both with 9 points apiece. So we'll have to see if they can hold out, because of course, like I said, if the series was to end right now, we have 4 people in the semifinals of it. So those would be the 4. It would be Chito Melissa, April Mendez, Rosemary, and Io Shirai. They're the ones that are currently qualified for the semifinals part. Serena Deeb, Io Shirai, both with 6 points apiece, just behind that. Angelina Love and Kairi Hojo with 4 points apiece still. And Hikaru Shida and surprisingly Kana with 3 points. Kana has had 1 victory in this series so far. That's it. It's crazy. She was undefeated. Then she lost the tag titles. And suddenly she went downhill and has lost 4 of 5 matches in this series. So might be something coming out of it. Well, might have to see what ends up happening with that. On the men's side, Roderick Strong continuing his domination in the series. 15 points for him. Completely undefeated in this series. Jay Lethal behind him with 12 points. Only loss was to Dinero at this point. After those two, it gets a little interesting because Abyss, D'Angelo Dinero, and EC3 are all at 9 points apiece right now. So, if it was to end right now, one of those 3 men would be on the outside looking in. Obviously, it would depend on head-to-head stuff and all that. But outside of that, Colt Cabana, Adam Cole, and Punchman Martinez all with 6 points apiece. Chris Hero with 3, and Zema Ion still remaining winless in this series. So there is that. A lot of crazy stuff happening in our TNA series. We'll have to see where things keep playing out. See what ends up happening with BFGS. See how our other storylines are going on. I know, like I said, there's not going to be a whole lot of attention on some of the outside stuff over the next few weeks, but I'm going to try to do my best with promos and a few matches here and there and all that. But yeah, there you go. So there's another episode in our TNA series. Thank you all for watching. Definitely appreciate it. And we will catch you in the next video.